Today on the Changeville podcast, we're talking to the Queen Diva herself, Big Freedia. Big Freedia is a New Orleans-based bounce artist who uses her art to truly move people. Literally, if you're lucky enough to catch a show of Freedia's, you will not be able to stand still. You will dance. And luckily for you, she's playing at Changeville in 2017, and it is guaranteed to be lit. So get your tickets now. That being said, Freedia's mission is to spread the culture of New Orleans to the world, and along the way, she's changing the face of hip-hop. She has a documentary show on the Fuse network called Big Freedia, Queen of Bounce, a memoir that released in 2015, an excellent full-length album called Just Be Free, and her follow-up album Pressing Onward is scheduled for release in early 2017. In just the last year, she's released work collaborating with Diplo and DJ Snake, and was featured on one of the biggest hits of the year, Beyonce's Formation. We're honored to have Big Freedia on the show today. How you doing today, Freedia?
I'm doing pretty good, trying to get ready for these holidays.
Absolutely. I mean, you just put out the Christmazz EP. I hope that's how you pronounce it?
Yes, that's perfect.
So, Freedia, first of all, let's get to the question on everybody's mind out of the way up front. What was it like working with Beyonce, and what has it been like being a part of what many critics are calling the most important song of the year?
Well, it was my honor and my pleasure to work with the Queen Bee. She's such a humble and loving person. I've been looking up to her for many years now, and to never know that she was a fan of mine and adored my music. And once we started to connect, we really became close. So it was very amazing to be a part of a project so big and to be with such a wonderful artist.
So when curating the lineup to Changeville 2017, your name was one of the very first to rise to the top of the list. You represent social change in pop culture and specifically hip-hop in so many ways. There's a through line in your work of giving back to the community. How does the New Orleans community influence your work?
Well, it's where I was born and raised at and where I come from. So I got to see so many things growing up as a child. People being murdered, sex, drugs, poverty, political issues, the whole 9 yards, racism. As a kid, I saw it all. So being able to look back just at my own personal life and some of my friends that I grew up with and, their interactions on life made me look at things a little bit different, being that I have a voice and that I have a platform that I can speak on and speak out about social issues. It's just very important to me that I help to try to give back to New Orleans, and not just New Orleans, people around the world who don't have a voice that cannot be heard, and I can speak on their behalf.
For some of our listeners who may not be familiar, what are some of the things that you're doing to give back to your community and, as you said, the global community as well?
Locally, I do a few things. I do a Feed the Hungry, several times throughout the year. Christmas time, we also give gifts. I also represent for the PrEP HIV program for New Orleans and New York. I try to do as much as I can do when I'm trying to help the community. I also work with Habitat for Humanity, which help build houses in New Orleans to lower-income families, and they build the house and they get the house for a little bit of nothing. What the people put into the house, and they become first-time homeowners. That's very important to me. I also do kid things and functions throughout the year for the local community. There's many things I do. And then I speak about a lot of the LGBTQ issues that's happening around the world. The trainees with the bathroom situation, the people being killed in Florida, so many different things that going on in the world. I also help with trying to gear people to get out and vote when that time comes around, around election time. I don't know if you heard my Hillary song.
I definitely did.
I need y'all to get out and vote, and vote, and vote. Get out and vote. Get out and vote. Vote for who you want. Vote for Hillary. Vote for who you want. Vote for Hillary. Vote for who you want. Vote for Hillary. Do it for Hillary. Shake it for Hillary.
Yeah, so I try to touch on bases of issues that will affect us all, and all races, all walks of life, all genders. I just don't represent one particular group of people. I try to represent as many as I can across the board, and that's involving myself in so many activities. I have a TV show that's a platform to be able to help people to see things in a different light. And a lot of people have told me over the years from them watching my TV show that they have a different outlook on being gay, on, coming out to their families,
wow,
on looking at gay people in a different, aspect and light. So many different things. People come up and tell me that my show has helped them to change and feel more confident about themselves. So I try to use every platform that I have. I also have a book out that, talks about what I went through as a child in my household and my whole life experiences from when I was a kid to currently now. And, hopefully my story can help somebody else in their story and on their journey.
You mentioned your book, and so I've actually read your book, and I very much recommend it to anybody who is at all interested in learning more about your story. And one of the things that really jumped out at me was your being a voice against gun violence. Can you speak to where that comes from?
Like I said, I saw a lot of people get murdered, close friends, family members here in New Orleans. And, the gun violence has to stop one way or another, no matter who it is. It has to stop. And there's a program here called the Gun Buyback Program where you can voluntarily give the gun up or you can get money for the gun if you turn the gun in without any questions being asked or, you being like under investigation or in trouble or whatever. So we really try to push that program when that happens, and usually I give a free concert around that time, to just get people out and to get the community involved.
You have really carved a unique place out for yourself as a hip-hop artist. There is truly only one Queen Diva.
You better believe her.
What has been your experience as an LGBTQ artist in hip-hop, and do you even identify yourself in that way?
Well, I'm just an artist, and I don't put myself in no different category, and I just work, and I continue to work and stay focused on what's important to me and to my career and what I think my fans will enjoy from me musically, and not just musically, also socially, about my personality. I think about all these things on how I want to be respected and how I want to respect people back in general. So it's important that I, stay focused and stay on my grind, and I'm just an artist just like everybody else.
And I think that may be one of the reasons why so many people relate to your work, no matter what, like you said, no matter what walk of life they come from. Have you personally experienced or seen any adversity during your career? And if so, how have you faced it?
Well, you always see adversity throughout your life, and that's why I'm an independent artist, because I went into the big record labels and they're saying that they wouldn't know how to market me or they wouldn't know how to put a gay artist who's so out like me out. So there's many things that I face, just being a black gay artist and trying to get things done in the world and being a voice. My hardest adversity of, my last few years in my career was losing my mom. And how I dealt with that was a lot of prayers and talking to God and the love of my family and the love of my family and fans that supported me all around the world in the losing of my mother. And there was nothing I feel that I can't do now that I've lost my mother. That was the hardest thing that I ever think I would have to go through in life. So anything that comes after that, I definitely know that I can handle it.
Well, as someone who has watched every episode of your show, your mother's life, even in what was captured on your TV show, has touched me and has touched my wife, who also watches the show with me. So I know I speak for every viewer of the show that her life has touched so many people's lives.
It has, and the people tell me that all the time, and I'm glad that I was able to share my mom with the world and be able to help somebody else in their household who may be going through the same situation or a similar situation. And so that's why me and my mom, we talked about it and we agreed that we were certain things of her sickness to help people whose family are going through the same thing that we went through.
Your show openly addresses some really difficult themes. Was it an intentional choice to use the show as a platform to address these issues?
No, it just was when I first started and got my first season, it was dealing with and addressing everyday life for Freedia and all the people around Freedia. And that's the things that we go through in life. And the show was never scripted, like it's still not. They just follow me, and they capture the things that I'm trying to handle, the things that I'm trying to knock out, you know, the things that I want to go through and try to experience. And that's how we create the show, and which makes it so unique and different that we just take chances on everything that we shoot. And it usually come out to be wonderful TV.
I mean, I definitely agree with that. Switching gears to your music, some of our listeners may not be familiar with bounce music. How would you describe bounce to someone unfamiliar with the genre?
Up-tempo, heavy bass, call and respond type music. There's a lot to do with moving the body parts and getting that ass moving.
Your music has always been rooted in bounce, but I've heard an infusion of EDM in some of your more recent songs, as well as the Christmas EP, which is its own thing. We haven't heard much from Pressing Onward, so I wanted to ask, what can the fans expect from your next album? What direction are you moving in?
I'm steady moving into, new and exciting directions. It will be a mixture of stuff. It will have a little bounce for my bounce listeners who just got to have that beat clacking so they can make their ass clack. I'll have a little bit EDM on this album as well. I may even have kind of a LL Cool J feel on one of the tracks, which is kind of like a hip-hop love story. So there's a few directions that I'm going in. I hope that my fans enjoy the new direction that I'm going in.
Well, I personally look forward to hearing it myself. Every week, towards the end of the week, me and whoever else is in my office, we have a bounce break and get moving listening to one of your tracks. So we're looking forward to throwing more into the rotation there.
Yes, well, throw that big booty Rudy on there.
Already have. Listened to it last Friday when it dropped. And anyone listening to this, I'm not sure if this is going to drop before or after Christmas. You need to find it on whatever platform you listen to music on, because it will make you have a very merry holiday. I can tell you that right now.
Yeah, a very big Freedia Christmazz.
What other projects are you working on right now? I know you've mentioned some different places, your cookbook, workout app, some other things.
Yeah, I'm working on all of that. I'm actually getting my new music ready to be released in January, and I'm also getting ready to tour around the world once again. I'm getting ready for, like you said, the cookbook, the workout app, currently working on this, have this Christmas project going, which shocked me and shocked a lot of my fans as well. But I think it came out to be a really great album, and I'm excited about that. One of my songs, who's not on the Christmas album, Make It Jingle, also made it into Office Christmas Party a few times. So I'm excited about that. A lot of big things going on for me right now, and just taking it one day at a time. And last but not least, you'll be the first person to know this as well, because I'll be announcing it real soon, but I got picked up for a new season of Big Freedia Queen Diva.
Yes.
Yeah, and I'm 16 years late for my announcement.
I'm excited to hear that and honored that you would share that with us today. So I was at a wedding recently where the bride and groom walked out to turn the beat up. Full disclosure, that was my wedding. As an artist, I imagine you hear stories like this all the time about how your work affected people's lives. Do you have a favorite story about how your work touched someone's life?
I definitely have a few of those, but you just see if you won. My favorite one is gay people being able to come out to their family and not be afraid and be ready for the acceptance, whichever way it goes. Because a lot of times, a lot of artists hit me up, or a lot of, people just in general, gay individuals will hit me up and ask me how to do it, what's going to happen if they reject them, and I try to give them the best advice that I can on the situation. You know, that's some of my favorite stories of hearing how some of the people already knew and that they were just waiting for them to tell them. And, you know, some of them don't turn out as well, but I also give them advice on what they can do and try to help themselves in that situation.
You've worked with some of the biggest names in music and culture, from Beyonce, Diplo, DJ Snake, and that's just in the last year. Is there anyone else that you want to work with next?
You know, there's a few artists. I'm definitely trying to do something with Lil Wayne before he decides he wants to stop doing his music thing. I still want to do something with Rihanna and Lady Gaga and Drake and Patti LaBelle. And there's a bucket list for me, honey.
I mean, I would love to hear what a Drake and Freedia track would sound like. We have some questions from our listeners from Twitter, and so I'm just going to ask a couple of those. When did you know that you were meant to be a performer?
Well, I started in gospel, so I knew that when I started my gospel music, probably in about, when I was a kid, probably about 16, I knew that I wanted to do music. I didn't know what type of music it was, but I know I wanted to be either the head of a choir, a singer, some type of artist that dealt with music. So I was very young.
How did you earn the title the Queen of Bounce?
The Queen of Bounce, just for all of my hard work for over the years. And Queen of Bounce actually came, they called me the Queen Diva. And I got that name from my mama group that was called the Divas, and I used to help them with all of their parties, helping them to put it together, helping them to run it. And so I was like their little Queen Diva, and that's how I got that name. And then when we went to Queen of Bounce, we had a big old pool of names that we were going to try to call the TV show, and Queen of Bounce was the one that made it, and that stuck out the most. And that fits, my throne.
Our last question from Twitter is that many artists release holiday material, but your Christmazz EP was a refreshing take on this idea. It sounds like this EP was a blast to record. What were those sessions like?
Oh, they were real fun. Me and my boyfriend, she helped me to produce, most of the Christmas album, and, my producer, Blackie Mao, and some other great producers that helped us to get those tracks together. It was fun sessions. We went through it maybe about a week and a half of just coming up with Christmas ideas and how can I flip it and make it Freedia Christmazz. And those sessions were just amazing. We sat there day in and day out. I brought all type of different little pastries every day, and we snacked on pastries, and we drank hot tea, and we listened to tracks, and we came up with hooks and ideas, and we had a good time. It was laid back, it was smooth sailing, and it was a fun thing to do.
I just have a couple more questions that we ask everybody who comes on the Changeville podcast, and one of those is, what one song do you think everyone needs to hear, and why?
One of my favorite songs is, a song that I always think about when I'm so grateful for all the things that I've been through, all the things that I'm going through, and all the things that's still to come. When You've Been Blessed by Patti LaBelle.
So if a listener wants to hear more of your music, where would they go to do that?
You can go on any music site. I'm on iTunes, Spotify, Amazon, TuneCore. You can find the music anywhere. Go to BigFreedia.com. Google me, shit. You will find it.
And again, I'm going to say this for any of our listeners out there who haven't heard Big Freedia before, do yourself a favor. Go listen to the album Just Be Free. Go listen to the Christmas EP. Anything you can find, it'll get you moving, I promise. Any last thoughts for us, Freedia?
Thank you for your time, and it's been amazing.
Look forward to seeing your show at Changeville Festival in downtown Gainesville, March 2nd, 2017.
You already know.
I want my queens at, put them up, you feeling that. I want my queens at, put them up, you feeling that. I want my queens at, put them up, you feeling that. You gotta work your back off.
we want to say thank you again to our guest, Big Freedia. We'll be back in a couple weeks with another episode of the Changeville podcast. Until then, check out our website or Facebook page. Our lineup is out now. We've got Talib Kweli performing with a full band, Amy Ray of the Indigo Girls, Moon Hooch, David Bazan, Big Sam's Funky Nation, and Big Freedia the Queen Diva, as you already know. Tickets are going fast, so get yours now. Until next time, this is Brandon, signing out.